lovely people. Welcome to my channel. I'm Barbara, or welcome back. Today's topic is very important to this season especially. We just celebrated in some English-speaking countries Halloween. In some different countries it's called different names. In Czech we call it like a remembrance of the spirits. And today I would like to talk about how important this season is for us to actually slow down and truly connect with what's happening in nature, in ourselves, in our history. It's not surprising that our ancestors were somehow recognizing the deceased and the spiritual world, because even though it's not scientifically proved yet, there is something between the earth and the heaven, and we don't know what it is. But some people are more receptive and more sensitive and open, so they can communicate with the spiritual, with the spirits. There are many different concepts about this topic, and I don't really want to go into that. I just wanted to look at the practical part, and that is us who are here still on this earth and who lost somebody maybe in the past or maybe recently, and how to deal with that. The thing is though that the cycle within us as women is giving us this opportunity to check in with ourselves every single month to see what we saw. You know, like there is like the saying, you will harvest what you sow. You know, like what you put in. So what we prepared, what we put into our body, into our mind, is gonna show us how it affected us or affects us during this fall season, which is the luteal phase in our, you know, cycle. And it's showing us if it was helpful and somehow supportive for us or not. And there is no really escape from it usually. It could be in way of like pain or uncomfortable feelings, maybe some bloating or maybe some PMSing, being nervous, like very nervous. It could be manifested in many different ways for different women, but ultimately it is really it's a check-in with how we treated ourselves throughout the active phase and the ovulation phase, and now it's just showing because like it's closer to the end, it's closer to the menstrual cycle, which is like the death, like the, you know, the winter. And also nature, not in all countries, but here in Czech Republic where I'm from and where I live currently, and in many different countries, now it's the fall season. It's the November already, so everything is coming to an end. Like everything is closing down, everything is shutting down. The trees are losing the leaves. They're just preparing. Everything and everyone is preparing for the winter that is coming. I've had an experience that I remember with death for the first time when I was 11. My grandpa passed away when I was 1, but I don't remember that. But when my grandma passed away, I was 11, and I very vividly remember it still. And I must tell you, I would like to share that experience with you because it was very comforting, actually. I remember coming to the house where my grandma used to live, and many aunts and uncles and cousins were already there when I came in. And they were all crying, they were very sad, and my grandma's body was placed on a bed with some candlelights. It's actually very usual and very normal. We don't see it nowadays anymore as much because I feel like people are really losing the touch with the natural passing and just having their loved ones passed away in their homes. It's not as common anymore. Many, like most, I would say, and the statistics show that most people nowadays, they die either in the hospital or they die in hospice. So for us, it's somehow very removed it's not something that it's common, and it's not so, you know, visible for us. But I must say that seeing my grandma's body not only wasn't traumatizing at all, like for me, I was actually very comforted by realizing and feeling that, first of all, the body is just a vessel. It's not, it's just like a shell. And when the spirit, you know, like the soul is gone, you don't feel like it doesn't look like that person anymore. And you can actually see, like, if you ever experience seeing dead body, not like in some traumatic way, but you know, like when somebody deceased, they look so much older. They just don't look like themselves anymore. And it's like you are thinking like, oh my god, like they look like almost like somebody else. Like they still look like themselves, but like so much older, and there is not that life in them. And that gives us actually the check-in with the reality of like what the reality actually is. What makes us us? Who am I? And who was this person? And how is it possible that when I see their body, but they don't breathe anymore, like the body doesn't work anymore, they don't look like themselves? And I vividly experienced and remember that I felt the presence of my grandma around me. It was very comforting. I just felt like she was just kind of like telling me like, don't be afraid, don't be sad. I'm still here. I'm still around. You didn't lose me. And that was actually very comforting. I just feel like I've always been very receptive to the spiritual world. And so for me, it was very comforting to know. And it was just like, I felt acceptance of like, well, this is change, it's transformation, it's what happened, but it's not something traumatic. I wasn't in resistance to that situation, like thinking like, oh, it shouldn't have happened, like I don't think like she should have stayed alive still. And she wasn't that old, but she was in her 70s, but still I felt a comfort of she didn't disappear. Her body was dead, but the spirit wasn't. I do know that when you don't believe something like this, it must be devastating and really hard. And I truly cannot imagine what it is like to live life without like the knowing that I have. Like I wouldn't even say like it's faith or it's belief, like it's knowing. I know that there is something else besides this physical world and this physical body that I, you know, can touch and see. I think it's worth exploring when you don't believe it, because every death is an opportunity for us to really check in with ourselves about our mortality or our, you know, like that we're not here forever, and what does that mean? Who actually we are, what it is. Why are we here? The thing is that death is actually a tremendous gift. And even though it's very sad, it's very, very sad, and it can be super devastating, I definitely don't deny that. My experience with my grandma was completely different to my experience that when my brother passed away, because my brother passed away nearly 9 years ago, and he was not even 15, and he killed himself. It was so devastating not being able to stop that, not being able to do something about it, not being able to somehow change that for him. Finding out that he was in such a deeper depression, that he felt like that's the only way out and that's the only comfort that he's gonna get once he's gonna kill himself and pass away. And it took me a really long time to make peace with it. With my grandma, it was a very easy process. It was very natural and very, very simple, pretty much. But with my brother, it took me several years, really, to come to the acceptance stage. And just as there are cycles in nature, there are cycles in our grieving, our mourning, and if we let the transformation of death transform us, we will get out of it stronger and more compassionate and more loving and more understanding, kinder, and just overall more open. But we have to let that process to take place and work through it. And it's not linear. For each of us it's very different, because for each of us we have different experience, different relationship with the being that passed away, whether it was a human or whether it was our loved animals. Each process is different, and we cannot force ourselves to be in acceptance mode and be okay. That was also very important for me to learn that and understand that. And every time when this time of year comes, I'm more and more actually appreciative of that opportunity to check in with myself, to check in with my mortality, to be aware that I'm not gonna be here forever. For example, what I took from the experience of my brother passing, and what I'm very grateful for now that I really processed it and came to an acceptance with, is that life is too short to live some lie and to pretend. So for me it's very important to be authentic, to be really myself, and to actually find ways how to show who I am and to share my gifts and my experiences and my abilities with others, because everybody is very unique and everyone has a special gifts and skills that are meant to be shared and are meant to be for the goods of everybody else. Even if it's sometimes like some people are supposed to be assholes. So you can say, draw the line and set boundaries and be like, no, I'm not gonna let that in because this is hurtful and I don't like it. Everybody has a different role and everybody has different set of skills that can be very important and very enriching for us. I truly hope that you are gonna take that opportunity this time of the year to really check in with yourself, who you are, why are you here, what are you meant to be, and simply just be yourself. You can listen to some sad music to really dive deep into what it is like to lose somebody or someone if you didn't. You don't have to experience that experience to check in and tap into your own mortality. It can be actually through movie, for example. You don't necessarily need that experience of somebody passing in your life. Yeah, I hope that it's gonna be helpful, that you're not gonna be in resistance to this transformation, this tremendous gift that death is giving us. There are also very important rituals that can take place, like of course like the funeral is one of the very important rituals that we are still remembering and still doing, but there can be different rituals that you can do during this time of the year when you're just letting go and when you're just like letting something old die, and it's gonna give space to something new. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel. I'm posting every other week in English and every other week in Czech, almost every Wednesday. Have a beautiful day. I hope you have a lovely day, night, or whatever it may be, and I'll see you at my next video. Have a blessed day. Bye.